Welcome to our Sunday morning announcements for August 27th with the Eric Wallace avatar. If you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, please click that subscribe button to get notifications when we have new videos. If you're with us right now on Zoom, say hi in the chat so we can say hello back. For everyone here in person, hello everybody. And if this is your first visit, please sign the guest book either in the lobby or online at oakcliffuu.org/guest. Today, Sarah Berel-Harrop, Intern Minister at the Texas Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry, will be sharing her message, Breaking the Heart Open, a Move Towards Spiritual Wholeness. Stay tuned, this promises to be a fascinating service. In honor of Sarah's appearance in our pulpit, we'll be having a Share the Plate collection today during our offering to benefit the Texas UU Justice Ministry. This collection will help continue our long-term support of their efforts to advocate effectively for public policies that bend Texas towards justice. If you aren't with us in person but would like to donate to this special Share the Plate, please go to oakcliffuu.org/donate and under Fund select Share the Plate. Your contributions are greatly appreciated. We do hope you can stick around after the service for Talkback, where we gather in a circle and share our thoughts. Also after the service, at 11:15, we have Adult Religious Exploration with Sarah Rickey in the Charity Building, in person and on Zoom. Sarah continues with Building Your Own Theology, a class designed to help people define and better understand their own spiritual journey as well as others. Today's focus will be on suffering and meeting. Why do bad things happen? And coming up this week, every Monday, our Widening the Circle of Concern work group continues to meet on Zoom, and it's new time at 7 p.m. If you would like to help us on our path to becoming an anti-racist church, please consider joining us. If you have questions or concerns about the Widening the Circle of Concern efforts, please email us at wcoc@oakcliffuu.org. See your e-blast or the back of your order of service for the Zoom link to join the meeting. Our next Teamwork Tuesday workday will be on August 29th. Please plan to join us from 4 to 6 p.m. if you can lend a hand. We have lots of areas to spiff up before in-gathering on September 10th. And on Thursday, the Social Justice Ministry continues reading Life's Journey, Zuya, Oral Teachings from Rosebud, and discussing it on Zoom at 7:30 p.m. Details are in the e-blast. Questions, please ask Mavis. Next Sunday, we're having a special Labor Day potluck and celebration. Yay! On Sunday, September 3rd, instead of our usual worship service, join us for a potluck brunch social from 10 a.m. to noon in honor of Labor Day. We will have an invocation blessing the food and the many facets of labor that made the food and our gathering possible. In addition, longtime labor activist, union organizer, and friend of the church, Gene Lance, will lead us in some classic labor protest songs. Zoom will also be open for folks to join us to text chat, visit, and enjoy the music. Coming up on September 5th, and in honor of Labor Day, the First Tuesday Film Festival returns with a screening of Dolores. We first screened this film 5 years ago, and it still holds up well in recognizing an amazing activist. As PBS described the film, history tells us Cesar Chavez transformed the U.S. labor movement by leading the first farm workers' union. But missing from this story is his equally influential co-founder, Dolores Huerta, who tirelessly led the fight for racial and labor justice alongside Chavez, becoming one of the most defiant feminists of the 20th century. Her enormous contributions have gone largely unrecognized. While you're marking your calendar, go ahead and mark September 10th for our annual in-gathering service and October 29th for our Haunted Forest fundraiser. And of course, we'll be looking for volunteers. More information on all of this can be found in the weekly e-blast. Not receiving the e-blast? Well, you should be. Sign up at oakcliffuu.org/enews. It's that easy. And we have a member anniversary to celebrate. Emily Glenn Valentin joined us on August 26, 2020. Congratulations, Emily. That's it for now. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you have a great Sunday.
Let us begin our sacred work today with words by Adriel H. Graham, The Promise and the Practice. We kindle a flame of power, illuminating the holy in each of our faces. We recognize in the flame a passionate commitment to our shared faith. We are held and carried from day to day, week to week, in the shining of the light. This flame is mine as well as yours. We are brought together on this day, called to growth, to expansion within its glow. What does your heart know while beholding this holy fire? May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, Spirit of love, compassion, and forgiveness.
Que esta luz que ahora encendemos nos inspire a usar nuestros dones y poderes para sanar y no para herir, para ayudar y no para impedir, para bendecir y no para maldecir, para servirte a ti, espíritu de amor, compasión y perdón.
Our opening words today come from Elizabeth Mount, The Church Incarnate. Sunlight streams through a rounded window. Come into this place, bringing all you hold with you. Though your heart be heavily burdened, whether you be on the brink of tears or burn with unquenchable rage, this community can hold you and your strongest emotions. Yes, even the messy ones are welcome here. Come in as if you sing just a bit too loud, if you hold still as statues and just breathe it in, if you sway to the music moving your soul, you are welcome. Come in and say, Amen, when the Spirit moves you. Tell that preacher to preach it. Yes, that's right, tell us. Or close your eyes and quietly let your mind float free on the blessed words. Come into this place with every piece of yourself gathered up, and let us be the church incarnate. Let us bring forth the spirit of all that we love by the words of our mouths and the doing of our hands as we make sacred this time together.
Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near. Gathered here in the mystery of the hour, gathered here in one strong body, gathered here in the struggle and the power. Spirit, draw near.
In our community, we make time each week to share pieces of our lives with one another, our joys and sorrows. We do this because each person in this community has value. Each person's experience matters. We share our sorrows with one another today, knowing that sorrow comes into each person's life, knowing that together we offer comfort. Please share your sorrows publicly by posting them in the Zoom chat if you're not in the room with us today, or send them to our Facebook Messenger, or speak them aloud.
When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love. When I breathe in peace. When I breathe out love.
We also share our joys with one another. That joy comes in, knowing that joy comes into all our lives. Knowing that joy calls unto joy. Knowing that together our voices can rise in a chorus of celebration. Please share your joys publicly by posting them to the Zoom chat, or send them to our Facebook Messenger, or speak them aloud. Welcome to the UU Church of Oak Cliff. Here we gather in sanctuary, where we're free to pursue our own unique and individual spiritual journeys in an atmosphere of acceptance, compassion, and celebration. We seek to build a community where what you believe is less important than how your beliefs guide and inform your participation in the world. Ours is a community that values the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. To our returning visitors, we are so happy you have joined us again. We know your time is precious, and we're honored to have you here today. And we would like to extend a warm welcome to those who are joining us for the first time. We recognize the bravery it took to come into a new place, and we're glad you're here. Ours is a covenantal church, Latin for come together. Covenant means a solemn agreement or promise from the heart regarding a course of action between parties. The practice of promising to walk together is the core of our faith. Simply put, it is a guide for the behavior we expect from ourselves and each other. We are bound together by the promises we make to one another, and we recite our covenant during every worship service. Because we love one another, we honor each individual's spiritual journey. We celebrate life's abundance in service to each other, our community, and the world. We connect with each other in love, respect, and acceptance. Thus do we covenant together.
Porque nos amamos uno al otro. Honremos el viaje espiritual de cada individuo. Celebramos la abundancia de la vida en el servicio a entre sí, nuestra comunidad y el mundo. Ponemos en contacto a unos con otros en el amor, respeto y excepción. Así que hacemos pacto.
We are pleased today to have Sarah Berel-Harrop here on Zoom with us this morning. She is the Intern Minister at the Texas Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry and a seminarian at Meadville Lombard Theological School. She grew up UU in Houston, Texas, and has been engaged in congregational life in Houston and the Dallas-Fort Worth area in many capacities: religious educator, social justice chair, and board leadership. She is passionate about nurturing groups and communities grounded in relationship and trust that offer alternatives to organization based in domination and control. Our sermon today will be in two parts, so we'll let her start her part, and then we'll sing a hymn, and then we'll have the second part.
The Hebrew scriptures tell about a time when a man named Jacob had a very bad night. Years earlier, he had harmed his brother, and so he ran away. And he created a new life for himself, but he eventually felt compelled to return home, even while he feared that his brother might still be angry. And so picture him. He's all alone the evening before he's going to meet his brother, sweating it all out. And all of a sudden, a stranger accosts him in his campsite. They wrestle in the dark all night. As the sun rises, the stranger pushes Jacob's hip just a bit out of joint and starts to leave. And Jacob's like, "No, that's not okay. We've been at this all night. And at the least you can do is give me a blessing." And the stranger does indeed bless him with a new name. The name is Israel, which means God wrestler. And Jacob, who's now known as Israel, was indeed a changed man as he went on. It turns out his brother wasn't mad anymore. And for his own part, he said, "When I saw your face, it was as the face of God smiling on me." The face of God in his estranged brother. Some should say this stranger in the campsite was an angel. Others think it was just a dream, Jacob wrestling with his own conscience. The thing that we do know is that this long, intimate dance with the stranger forever changed him. He has a new name, Israel. He limps for the rest of his life. But more importantly, he found a new version of himself that could love his brother and forgive himself. a version that could admit his wrongs and seek repentance. Over and over again in the Hebrew scriptures, the divine speaks to individuals through the voice of strangers. Strangers test our hospitality, how we express love and care. Strangers test our very sense of self. If we have the courage to authentically engage and grapple with them, strangers bless us with growth and with expansion. Ethicist Walter Earl Fluker wrote a great book called Ethical Leadership: The Quest for Character, Civility, and Community. And I'm really compelled by his take on spirituality. He views spirituality as not something that's individual, at least not entirely. It's not a feeling or a practice like yoga or meditation. It's something that's discovered and an action that's done in community. Fluker says, spirituality is a discipline that places emphasis on practice. Spirituality is something that we do. It has to do with the practical day-to-day encounter with the other being both friend and stranger, comrade and opponent, individual and collective, divine and demonic. In its active, dynamic expression, spirituality is life-generating and disfiguring. Disfiguring. Yes, you heard that correctly. This jolted me when I read it. It's not generally considered a good thing. Fluker goes on to say, Dr. Martin Luther King and Howard Thurman demonstrate that for ethical leaders, each encounter with the other carries within itself the danger of disfiguring, of being tested, unproven, so that which is hidden and that which calls us discloses itself in acts of courage, justice, and compassion. Now, Fluker challenged me to wonder, what is a spiritual encounter? What's the role of danger and risk? If I look at the other person as a mirror and I don't hold my heart, my very conception of self, open to change, what just happened? Whatever it was, I'm convinced it wasn't spiritual. Fluker's concept of spirituality asks me to be like Jacob, to struggle with the stranger. That's how I'm going to find out what they're there to teach me. And this is where vulnerability takes a powerful role. If I hold myself open to change, to disfigurement, it might be painful. I need to hold my heart open to that. I might feel big emotions like anger or sorrow. I need to hold my heart open to that. I need to hold myself in a place where my heart could actually break open and grow something new. That which is hidden is there already, but it's sparked into growth. Certain seeds won't grow unless you do a thing called scarification. You literally have to disfigure them. You cut them with a nail, or you puncture them with you puncture them with a nail, or you cut them with a razor. And if you do not break the hard shell, all those things that are life-giving, sun, rain, nutrients in the soil, they don't reach the parts of the seed that bring new life. There's a punk rocker I like. Her name is Laura Jane Grace. And she's written a song that highlights the downside of a hard shell. She writes, because of the shame I associate with vulnerability, I am numbing myself completely. Can you hear me right now? Because of the shame I associate with vulnerability. We feel shame because We feel like that there's something that happened that we shouldn't do or we shouldn't be. We feel shame around vulnerability. And why is that frightening? I wonder if it has to do with the fear of disfigurement and change, an idea that we should be static rather than fluid, that we should be stoic. And I wonder about this idea of stasis, if the way that we think about identity contributes to the notion that we should be very static. It's as if identity is one thing rather than a collection of experiences, emotions, and interpretations. What if we think of identity as like a bag of stones and sea glass? In some places it's transparent, other places it's opaque. It constantly shifts. I can choose the pieces that come to the fore. If I'm being vulnerable, I can dance with the shadow side of myself, with the demonic as well as the divine, with all of the strange and hidden pieces of myself. Instead of engaging the possibilities of this dance, too frequently I numb myself completely. In that space, I isolate myself. I might not even know myself. Can you hear me right now? It's like having a head cold where my ears and head are so full of cotton and stopped up, so you can't really hear anything. What if Jacob had been too numb to notice the stranger that entered his campsite? Would he have had his transformation? As people of faith, as people who engage in religious community, we seek spiritual growth. That's our work. And the way we engage as individuals has implications for the spirituality that the collective expresses. Is the collective dancing and engaging with all those hard things? Or are we numbing ourselves completely? This is complicated by US culture, white supremacy culture, and the reality of how race, though it's a social construct, has very real and urgent implications for the way that we move in the world. Because of the shame I associate with vulnerability, in our country, history books in Florida have just been rewritten in all manner of racist ways. We have our own battles here in Texas around so-called CRT. Rather than being vulnerable enough to hear the actual history, to grapple with shameful policies and actions such as slavery, genocide, and lynch laws. What's the move? Suppress the history, be ignorant, numb ourselves from the realities of racism and its ongoing harm. Now, I know you here at Oak Cliff are preoccupied with the issue of racism. You've even had a whole series around white supremacy culture. Can you hear me right now? It's a plea for something different. We can engage with the other. We can recognize how we individually and collectively have harmed and work towards atonement and for repair. We can make changes, starting with ourselves and our institutions, but only if we hear each other. And now I'd like to invite you to reflect upon how we can hear each other by singing the hymn Building Bridges, which is hymn number 1023 in the Teal hymnal.
between our divisions. I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
I spoke earlier about an individual's identity as a bag of stones and sea glass. Imagine our communities as multiple bags of stones, glittering and skittering, where we individually are grappling with our identities, but we're also vulnerable enough to show these pieces of our identities to each other, to look for what's hidden, and to collectively wonder, what then could we do together? Spiritual wholeness is that whole dynamic dance. It's that long night of struggle that softens and breaks open our hearts so that we joyfully see the face of the divine in each other. It's the search for repair of the harms in the world, including those that we're responsible for and that we contribute to, whether purposefully or not. And that's why I get excited about the powerful anti-racism work that goes on in our Unitarian Universalist movement. And I know that Oak Cliff is also very engaged in this work through your anti-racism task force and the Widening the Circle work group. Many congregations engage through the eighth principle, which calls us to seek spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community. Fluker's practical day-to-day encounter with the other, that's a day-to-day embrace of the potential that we can do, that we can be together. But we're missing something if we don't have anti-racism praxis, individually and as a community. Think of the issue of reproductive justice. Now, this framework, reproductive justice, arose because of racism in the pro-choice movement. The RJ, so RJ is short for reproductive justice, group, Sister Song, describes when the founders of the reproductive justice movement met. This was in 1994. And they had their own meeting because the women's rights movement, led by and representing middle-class and wealthy white women, could not defend the needs of women of color and other marginalized women and trans people. So this group, rather than, they went to a big meeting that had been organized by the white leaders, but they also had their own meeting. They knew they needed their own framework and movement. And unlike this rights framework, which the pro-choice movement had been working with, and which focuses on individual rights, the RJ framework focuses on access. Okay, now I have the right. Can people actually use this right? And it was access to human rights. And these human rights are to have children at the time of a person's own choosing, not to have children, to parent children in safe, sustainable environments free from violence. And this is inclusive of bodily autonomy. And when you think about how much more inclusive, how much more far-reaching and generative this framework is, it highlights the importance of diversity in a movement. It highlights wholeness. The women's movement was not whole because it excluded important voices. Now, the eighth principle also calls us to accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions, calling us into action, into relationship with those that are personally impacted by racism. We have a responsibility not to numb ourselves completely. We have an affirmative duty to hear each other. Maybe that could take us into a place where we, in the words of Reverend Marjorie Bowens Wheatley, become more of ourselves, more whole, as we witness to a vision of a world transformed by our care. Your justice ministry, the Texas UU Justice Ministry, seeks a world transformed by our care. We educate and organize Texas UU's member congregations and partners to advocate effectively for public policies that affirm the worth and dignity of each person, that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions, that, in short, bend Texas towards justice. Your justice ministry adopted the eighth principle last year, and we found this adoption was a great milestone, and it was also just the beginning of our journey. As with any anti-racism work, you're never really done. It's an opening up of our perspective and our viewpoint, and it takes us into new places. I want to share with you a powerful part of our eighth principle journey, which was when we co-sponsored and participated in a rally for Black maternal health at the Capitol during legislative session this past year in Austin. And this rally and this lobby day was spearheaded by Friendship West Baptist Church, which is a Black social justice megachurch in Dallas. We partnered with them on this urgent reproductive issue. And Black maternal health is crisis level situation. Our partnering included financial support, publicizing it. We included information about these maternal health priorities in our leave behinds with the legislators. We encouraged our members to focus on this priority. We educated our members about the crisis of Black maternal health. And we encouraged our participants to join the rally at the end of the day. We wondered, what's it going to be like for our people to not be running things? We explained to our people who wanted all the details now that working with partners sometimes means slowing down so that they can go through their own process and let us know what would be most helpful. And we were so gratified at the end of the day to see a small sea of yellow shirts at the rally in a supportive role at the back. Our people present told us how deeply this rally impacted them, how deeply this understanding of what was going on with Black maternal health had transformed them. And for myself, one of the most impactful moments was when Reverend Aaron led the rally in singing Hezekiah Walker's "I Need You to Survive." I was right next to Black women at the rally who were supporting the doula bill, which is another important legislation that would improve Black maternal health. Hey, I really felt like this bill is so important. And they were like, yes, we do too. We found something in common. And then we were singing to each other. I was singing to them. They were singing to me. I love you. I need you. You are important to me. I need you to survive. And this moment came from listening, from moving into relationships, because the justice ministry took accountability seriously. We grappled with something that was not actually on our radar before. We leaned into vulnerability. We leaned into hearing the other person. And that's the way that we, your justice ministry, aspire to show up with and for our partners, to show up with and for our values, with humility, with openness, and with the belief that as we work together and disclose what is hidden, we can transform the world. I'd like to close today in the spirit of prayer. Source of love and hope, of breath that connects us each with one another. May we discard our shame and embrace vulnerability. May we discard numbness and embrace hearing each other. May we wrestle daily with the sacred other. May we seek daily the divine face of the other. May we move towards spiritual wholeness by embodying this intention. I need you to survive. I need you to thrive. Blessed be and amen.
Join me in reciting the Widening the Circle of Concern covenant. We, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Oak Cliff, commit ourselves to the study and dismantling of racism and oppression within our congregation. We commit our congregation and ourselves to the work of anti-racism and anti-oppression. We commit ourselves to listening, to learning, and to action. When we fail, we commit ourselves to trying again and again. We covenant to begin this work and to continue until all of us can truly say that we are a beloved community of justice, equity, and compassion. Thank you. Our widening moment reading today is authored by Reverend Ellen Quadgrass. And you will notice in the title, she does address this to a particular group of people. I'm one of them. Most of our congregation historically has been white folk. It's changing a little now. We hope it continues to change as we do the work we need to do. But this is a reminder for myself and my brothers and sisters and cousins and friends here in the congregation and elsewhere about what we're doing here. A Prayer for White People by Reverend Ellen Quadgrass. Sheltered in our homes or going to work, at risk for week after week after week, we're edgy, tired, a little raw. We are tender vulnerable, open, a little more open than usual. Those of us who are white, who before might have been distracted, who before might have been too busy, who before might have been preoccupied with our lives, are noticing the ways injustice has happened to people of color, the same way again and again and again. Now we have become aware. Please, may we be aware. May we not lose awareness. May we not get distracted. May we not turn away. May we open, really open, accepting the invitation to change, really change our minds, our hearts, our world. When we encounter calls to defund the police, when we encounter calls for reparations, when we hear follow our lead from people of color, may we listen, may we learn, may we be open. Even if it means rethinking everything you thought you knew about the world. We have, all of us, as humans, an enormous opportunity to change one of the oldest injustices in history, to change everything. May we stay vulnerable. May we stay tender. May we take action. Eyes and hearts and minds open. Thank you.
Let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place that is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope, for we are now the keepers of the dream. Members, if you are contributing cash towards your pledge, please use the envelope provided and write your name on it. To text your donation, see the numbers on the order of service. And for more options, see oakcliffuu.org/donate. I will remind us, I believe this Sunday is our Share the Plate Sunday. So open cash in the basket will go to, I believe, our social justice.
Yes, that is correct, if I may. Yes, today, if you are putting cash in the basket that is not otherwise designated, that is going to the Texas Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry. You are also welcome to put checks dedicated to them in the basket. Please make a note if the donation is going to them. There is a special donation online, which I'm getting from Scott for folks donating online.
Receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. De ti yo recibo, a ti te doy, así compartimos y vivimos hoy. Receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. De ti yo recibo, a ti te doy, así compartimos y vivimos hoy.
Our closing words for the day by Jim McGaw. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in mindless oblivion. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go without challenging yourself or others. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in utter ease and comfort. When I say go in peace, I mean go in peace seeking justice. I mean go in peace committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. When I say go in peace, I mean go in the peace that is created when together we build communities of true solidarity, deep compassion, and fierce, unrelenting love. Go in peace.
When our heart is in a holy place, our heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place. When we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, our heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place. When we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, our heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place. When we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. Then our heart is in a holy place.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Extinguimos esta llama, pero no la luz de la verdad, el calor de comunidad o el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevaremos en el corazón hasta que estemos juntos otra vez.